Hey, it's Paul Macetta. And for a limited time, I want to give you the opportunity to check out the digital version of my brand new book, The Street Persuasion Playbook. I should have named this thing the Street Persuasion Bible. I mean, look at the size of it. Over 200 pages, over 30,000 words. And yes, I will go as far as to say that this book right here is the holy grail of persuasion techniques. Number one, you got 101 of them in here. Number two, they're simple, short, easy, and effective. So I cut right to the chase. There's no long, drawn out stuff here. Each technique is a couple of paragraphs, if that, long. So I cut right to the chase. I explain the technique. I show you how to execute it. Last is that there's stuff in here that you're not going to find in other books. So this is the only book that focuses on the 5 major areas of communication that you need to know: nonverbal language, verbal language, NLP, psychology, and how to overcome objections. So I just want to go through a couple of these with you so you can see how powerful they are and how you can use them in your own life. So, for example, on page 31, I talk about how to put power players in their place with a counter handshake. Now, believe it or not, you could tell a lot about a person by the way that they shake your hand. And a lot of people will try to use dominance when they meet you by either squeezing your hand or placing their hand out like this. When they place their hand out like this, what they're trying to do is display dominance over you. They're trying to be the alpha. They're trying to be the head person in charge. So what you got to do is immediately neutralize that and let them know that they're not the head person in charge. And you do that by changing the direction of your hand, and that forces the person. So when they come in like this, you come in like this. And what that does is it forces the person to have to change the position of their hand. And guess what? Instantly, you go from being the second person on the totem pole in that person's mind to instantly neutralizing whatever power they thought they had. You're not going to learn that in other psychology books or in other influence and persuasion books. This is the stuff that works in real life out in the street. On page 41, tactic number 15, I show you how to learn to expose people when they're trying to deceive you. So again, this is another thing nobody really likes to talk about. There are a lot of liars out there. There are a lot of people out there that are going to tell you whatever you want to hear just to get what they want from you. But if you know what body language, what signals to look for when they're trying to BS you, you can instantly cut through that and get right to the truth. So the first one is the eye rub gesture. This is a huge red flag. If you're having a conversation with somebody, if you're out on a date with somebody and you're asking them questions that could potentially impact whether or not you're actually going to get into a relationship with this person, and they start rubbing their eyes, they are most likely lying to you. The next one is neck scratching. So there is a physical response that takes place when someone is lying. What happens is the blood pressure goes up and it causes parts of the skin to expand. And that is why somebody's neck will start to get itchy and they might even pull away like this on their collar because their neck is expanding, their skin is getting moist, and they almost feel like they're getting strangled, right? Something you got to watch out for. Another one is if a person is touching their nose or touching a part of their face. Now, sometimes people get itchy. If they get itchy, what they're going to do is they're going to scratch. Touching doesn't relieve an itch. Scratching does. So you got to learn to figure out the difference between when a person is really just itchy and they're trying to scratch the itch, or when they're touching parts of their face. Because what's happening is there's a psychological response going on because there's a disconnect between what's in the person's mind and what's coming out of their mouth. And oftentimes, they will subconsciously block what's coming out of their mouth because they know it's not true. So they might touch their mouth. They might put their hand over their mouth. Again, you gotta learn this stuff. You gotta learn and understand how to maneuver in the real world, because if you don't, the fact of the matter is people are gonna get over on you with all kinds of deceit and lies and deception. And you don't want that to happen. Another one I want to share with you is my personal favorite, This is the common enemy technique. And the common enemy technique is especially powerful if you are in hostile environments, if you are in prison, if you are in a tough neighborhood, if you are in a career situation where it's shark infested, where it's like a dog eat dog type of environment. The common enemy technique is based on the fact that if you can identify an enemy that you have in common with someone, you will gain rapport with them super fast. Now, rapport is super important to influence and persuasion, right? This is no secret. You read any book on influence and persuasion, they're going to teach you how to create rapport. What they normally tell you is to identify things that you like, that you have in common with someone, and it definitely works. But even more powerful than things that you both like are things that you both dislike. Anytime you can identify an enemy that you have in common with somebody, you're going to gain rapport with them faster and easier. Number one, because it's unorthodox. This is not something that happens all the time, right? Like we constantly find things that we have in common with people that we like. So humans are used to that. But when we identify something that we don't like, that's a lot less common, right? And so the experience instantly stands out for us. Second is that there's an emotion tied to the interaction between you and that person. So therefore, the interaction in and of itself is going to be a lot more memorable, right? So think about this. Think about this next time you're on a job interview. Think about this next time you're in a hostile environment. Think about this next time you're on a date and you want to really build a connection with the person because you're feeling a connection to them and you want them to feel the same way. One of the easiest ways to build that connection is to identify that common enemy. Remember, there's an old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Now, the common enemy doesn't necessarily have to be a person. It could be anything. It could be a place. It could be a car. It could be the stock market. It could be the weather. It's just something that the both of you dislike. Even more powerful is if you're presenting to an audience and you know that there is a common enemy that everyone in that audience has. This is why political rallies are so powerful, right? Because you got a group of people, a large group of people in one place that you know feel so strongly about a particular topic and hate another particular topic, another particular party, another particular person. They all have this, right? So it's like the common enemy technique magnified by 1,000. Like I said, I got 101 techniques just like this in the digital version of this book. So you don't got to lug this thing around with you. You can get the digital version, have it on your phone, have it on your tablet, have it on your computer for access whenever you need it. All you got to do is click the button below to get started.